to Mark Mitchell with Rasmussen Polling. A lot of interest after the debate. The Biden bounce. Mark, we're interested not only if Biden lost some traction there and Trump got the upward bounce, but also any polling on the media you've seen, media credibility in the last day or so, has become just a mainline issue. And then anything else we haven't thought of. So, Mark Mitchell, welcome to the War Room, and just take it away.
Yeah, and first let me say, just glad to be here on this historic day for War Room. What they did to Steve was unconscionable, and I'm glad we can continue to support the show. I think it was fortuitous he had
Mark.
Darren Beatty on because he laid the logic out perfectly, and I think, I'll just follow his color by numbers and try and back it up with my polling. But I first think we need to acknowledge that this cycle has just been incredible. It really mind blower from a public opinion perspective. We're talking about, the weaponization of government, just the absolute height of media gaslighting. And even, this country might fall apart. People are really concerned about its going concern as a republic. And we've got the biggest number of people who think there's going to be a civil war than ever, 41%. A lot's happened in the last 2 months. I think you can look back on the two big events, the guilty verdict and this horrible debate. And, we can go into the details. We have one night of approval back. We have one night of the post-debate review back. And also just, media numbers that are horrible and I think getting worse. But I think the big thing to step back first and take a look at is where were the Democrats 2 months ago in the middle of May, and where are they now? Back in the middle of May, they had Biden come out for the State of the Union and everybody said, this is it. He sealed the deal. It didn't work. In the middle of May, his approval rating was 40%. Donald Trump was beating him by 10 points. The economy was imploding. Democrat approval of Joe Biden was like 67%. And the polling showed that there were no good replacement options. And the truth is, we basically round tripped to that. Trump had a little bit of a hiccup after the guilty verdict. Joe Biden's approval shot up to 45%. Donald Trump's lead in our polling went from 10 points down to 5 points. But in our latest matchup, he regained all that. Trump's back up to +9. And Joe Biden's still sitting at a 44% approval rating. But based on where, looking at the numbers, I think he's going right back down to 40. And there they are with
Mark,
the president. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And give everybody listening that Trump +9 with who? With what voters? Go over that slow motion.
That was our latest matchup from, I believe it was a week and a half ago. And Trump was beating Biden in a head-to-head by 9 points, 49% Trump to 40% Biden. And then in a multi-way matchup, Trump got up to 10 points. That's the one that, Trump put it on his Truth Social feed and gave us some credit for. But that's, from our perspective, he's been from 5 to 10 points basically all of the time since November. So I think it's fair to say that he is comfortably beating Biden now. And after that debate showing, and again, I'll get right into the numbers, I think that the Trump campaign should now focus on not whether or not they're going to win, but how they're going to win. But, going into the debate, voters told us that they thought Trump was most likely to win, but it was only 47% to 37%. But running through these numbers, and again, this is just one night back out of 3 nights. We'll have these numbers released in full later the week. But bad news for Joe Biden, almost 70% of voters say they watched most of the debate or all of the debate. It's up to 88% of voters who watched at least some of the debate. And then who was the winner?
Wow.
Joe Biden, 21%. Donald Trump, 56%. So that's like, a 25-point pickup for Donald Trump, driven by Joe Biden's horrible performance. Democrats, only 46% of Democrats say Biden won. And again, a lot of Democrats didn't watch the debate. They watched it less than anybody else. And 24% of Democrats actually say Donald Trump won. With Republicans, it's Trump, 85% to 6% for Biden. And independents, 63% of independents say Trump won. 8% say Joe Biden won. And that's the trend we've been seeing with approval, too.
Wow.
With one night of approval data back, independents got up to 42% post-verdict. They're back down to 34% now after the debate. And for the very first time, we had an overnight right direction, wrong track print below 30 at 28%, the lowest number we've had in 2 months. So we've basically round tripped to the horrible situation the Democrats were in May. And I think, in a week or two, we may find that Joe Biden might get into the upper 30s with approval, and maybe we'll see a low double-digit lead for Donald Trump. I really don't know in how divided this nation is. Like, maybe he's maxed out. But they should be focusing on how to win down ballot now, to be honest, because that's where the Republicans' problem are. Everybody tells us that inflation and the economy are the biggest issues. We got one night back on that, too. And Republicans win on the issue of trust on inflation by a 15-point margin. But Donald Trump's only winning by 10 points. But in the generic ballot race, Republicans are only winning by 5. So they have the right platform for the right issue set. Donald Trump is winning massively. Now it's time to, work on that machine.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Mark. And we got a couple minutes left. And any polling or any gut feel on the performance of the mainstream media, in particular, just the gyrations, the 180-degree turns within a day. First, everyone's Biden's got to go, and then they're circling the wagons within about 8 hours. Any polling that reflects credibility there?
Yeah, I think media is one of the two biggest wild cards from a public opinion perspective. One is the fundraising that Trump got from the guilty verdict and what might be a disparity in fundraising. He brought in hundreds of millions of dollars that'll go to ads that he wouldn't have had otherwise. The other is just this, the media has been utterly exposed as absolutely gaslighting. And people knew the media was bad. I mean, we pull on it all the time. We have a majority of Americans agreeing that media is the enemy of the people. But check this out. Even going into the debate, we had, 60% of voters said at least somewhat likely, 46% likely, said that the news media are helping cover up evidence of President Biden's declining mental sharpness. And now these numbers here are unreleased as of yet. But is the problem of media bias getting better or worse? Only 9% of voters say better. 61% say worse. Right. I think that's an absolute record. We've never seen the numbers that bad. Democrats, it's 45% worse to 14% better. Independents, 67% to 4%. That is astounding. And we actually even, this is a sentiment I've heard probably a couple times on War Room as well. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? No matter how much you hate the media, it's not enough. And we have a plurality of Americans agreeing with that, 45% to 28%, and a majority of Republicans, 43% of independents. So I don't know how that's going to play out. They kind of got exposed. I don't know if they got talking points Thursday night or they all just thought, well, there's no way we can cover Biden up after this. And now they're trying to ratchet it back. But people are just going to increasingly stop watching them. And that's going to drive a change in public opinion.
Yeah, outstanding analysis. Mark Mitchell, you're a favorite in the War Room. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for going through all the questions our folks want to know. We're back in the D block.